everybody. This is co-host Vince and JL Williams, the Spotlighter. And before we get started, we'd like to just send our sponsor shout out.
Today's show is sponsored by Swift Pro for all your marketing needs. Want to be a sponsor? It's simple. Just email us for more info. Now back to the show.
Okay, JL.
All right. Good day, everybody, everywhere. Man, hey, yo, we got a real one on deck today, man. Listen, I'm truly excited about this brother. Man, he really needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give him one. Brother Damon Warren believes that education is liberation, and I love it. You know what I mean? He's just that kind of brother. He's a veteran educator with more than 30 years of experience. He is passionate about ensuring education equity for all children. He has served in the Philadelphia tri-state area as a teacher, dean of students, head football coach, assistant principal, as well as principal. Not only that, but he has created a new brand of merchandise called EQ over IQ equals a better you. Man, I love that. He also holds master's degrees in both elementary and special education from CHENEY University. He is also the creator of Peace, which provides workshops and different educational opportunities for teachers as well as students. And so we want to bring to the HBCU original spotlight. We want to bring to you guys my man, Brother Warren. We're gonna call him Brother Warren today. We're gonna call him Brother Warren today. What's up, man? How you doing?
Welcome.
Appreciate you, man. So I love, appreciate the introduction. I need to hire you, man, for my show, man. Every time I come on, you just mind yourself. And brother,
yeah, we're gonna bring the
you too, brother Vince, yeah, for sure.
That's what's up. Well, you know what, man? Just looking through your bio, perusing through all the accomplishments and the dedication and commitment to excellence. Man, listen, I really couldn't even do it justice like I wanted to, because there's just so much, and it's so good to see a brother that's really committed to the excellence of education, and also with our young people. But one of the first off questions I wanted to ask is that, like, why HBCU? Why HBCU? I mean, just looking at your body of work and your motivation and insight into education, you could have went anywhere. So I just want to ask that question from the door. Why HBCU?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I couldn't have gone anywhere, right? So, going into my entire background, but to make a long story short, when I finally found my mind, because I lost my mind for a little bit in between middle school and high school, right? So I lost my mind. But then when I found my mind, and I attributed it to three things: God, my grandmother, and football, right? And so when I got my way back to the roots of the foundation my grandmother had provided me, I then began to get more serious in school. But I had some missteps the first couple of years of high school. And in having those missteps, they had something back then called non-qualifiers, right? So I was football. I was decent my last 2 years of high school. My first 2 years of high school, not so much, because I was in them streets, not to go into all of that. I'll never forget Joe Paterno literally coming to our high school my senior year and in the coach's office and going, it wasn't even DVDs or Huddle, or it was like the 16 millimeter films. That's how old I am. 16 millimeter film. And they liked me on tape, but next thing I know, he'd go to the counselor's office and I didn't hear from him anymore. Same thing, Bruce Arians, right? Who's now just recently retired coach of Tampa Bay, I believe. Coaches were coming in and trying to recruit me. They recruited another guy off my team, but not me, because I was called a non-predictor. So my all-star team coach told me, he said, listen, consider JUCO or consider HBCUs. So I began looking at the HBCUs. I was trying to go to California or Kansas, because I was kind of a mom. I was wanting to say somewhere on the East Coast. So it came down to Delaware State, CHENEY University, North Carolina A&T, and actually Central State. That was the furthest I had gone in Ohio. And I ended up choosing CHENEY after going to a girls' basketball game. Now, mind you, women's basketball games right now being very, very highly publicized in the media. But CHENEY at that time was the first HBCU and the only HBCU that had a girls team that was Division II that competed at the Division I level, and they were killing people. I went to this basketball game, and the culture, what I saw on campus, it was just amazing. I said, you know what? I'm going to school here because I could connect with people. I mean, it was live, it was love. Football-wise, we didn't do as much as I wanted to do. I'll be honest with you, but the culture of the school, the academics, and then eventually, seeing these guys wearing this purple and gold and whatnot. I said, that I connect with that stuff, so I'm going to school. So that's why I chose Cheyney University, the oldest HBCU in the country.
Let me ask you a quick question. So I know you said you originally wanted to go to a big school, powerhouse, and Cheyney being the original HBCU, the smallest HBCU. People don't even know that. Out of all HBCUs, how did that impact your life? Penn State, Joe Paterno, the largest of the schools in the United States, and then the smallest school in the United States. Isn't that? I like to know how that affected you and just in the process.
Well, there were many of us on our football team that had that opportunity because they had missteps along the way. So we had, I played with Andre Waters, for example, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles in the front end when I was a freshman and he was a senior. Then on the back end, guy by the name of James Williams, who was by the time I was a senior, he was a freshman. But all those guys in between came from various inner cities and had issues wherever they came from. Not all of them, but many had a lot of issues. So it was an opportunity for us to come to a school, go to school, learn about ourselves as people, connect with a small community because they put their hands around us to make sure we were provided with the tools we needed for being out there in the world. And it impacted me and allowed me to grow. But based on some of the things that I had missed, because I was, like I said, the first couple years of high school, I was out there in the streets, wasn't doing what I needed to be doing. So by having gentlemen there that had likely experiences and wanted to overcome those obstacles, and then the teachers and the professors there, they weren't just like professors. They were our mothers and fathers and our mentors and big brothers away from home, providing us with internships and so on and so on. So it was really a true family environment in the 80s. Yeah, we had fun. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely away from home. Rather being in a larger school where I might have been one of the only persons that looked like me inside the classroom of, say, 200 or 300 in the auditorium. That smaller classroom situation allowed me and it prepared me by having those connections and those conversations with people that had been there, done that, and got us ready for the world.
Wow.
When I think about when I think about our kids today and a lot of the challenges that they have, in education, just really staying focused. And then I'm looking at, some things that, that you have committed yourself to. What is it that you believe that is really missing in our educational system as it pertains to really getting to the core of our children, really, so they really can have the advantages that they need?
Well, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'm gonna give you the short answer. So, parents, man. I mean, parents and community, school community. Besides the school itself, in the home, or in the community, whether it be mentors through your church, your masjid, whatever the case may be, parents, that particular thing was I could walk down the street, for example, and Miss Grant would say, Damien, if you don't, I could go get a spanking, and that's not a law, that's illegal today, but get a little spanking or a little something then, and then she would call my grandmother, because my grandmother raised me, right? My grandmother raised me, and then call my mom, and I'm gonna get something at home too. It was more of a sense of community. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, but it didn't seem like that because I definitely didn't want food. I didn't want for clothing, and it was a great community of people that would put their hands around you. And education, although she only gone to maybe the 9th grade, she put me with babysitters who had gone to college, and she made sure I was kind of individuals and getting good reading teachers and things of that nature at an early age. So even though she had some deficits, she was a provider, but she made sure that, before I became a latchkey kid, all my babysitters had gone to college or worked in schools themselves. So education was important for her, and she made it important for me. So I don't see as much of that. I still see some of that, but not as much of that, especially in the cities with our parents, and not just, for different situations. Not all of them are bad, not by no means, but we just need more of the old school community. It takes a village to raise a child type of vibe that we had back then. We don't have that as much right now.
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
You know, Warren.
I see that a lot.
I was just saying what John was just touching base with the education side of it, and I wanted to hold it. I'm hearing in the conversation a lot of this is stemming back from your grandma. Your grandma. So she pushed you and drove you and mentored you. A lot of of the young men and women nowadays, they don't have that particular person in their life who can push them in the right direction. She pushed you into places and people that went to college, like you said, or had some kind of presence of education. And did that play an effect on you? I mean, I'm just listening to your conversation because you mentioned your grandma a lot from beginning to now.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's my best, when she rest in heaven, man. My best friend since I was 2 months old, and she instilled those things in me because, my father, he was a resource provider. He was in the street, but he wasn't there. And my mother, he had two different fathers, me and my other brother and whatnot. But my grandmother was the rock. She was the one. She made sure that, and even though I had my missteps, because I wanted, it's almost like you recall the movie, The Notorious with Biggie Smalls. If you recall that movie, it's a scene where he's sitting on the steps and he sees ride past with chains on and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, I lost my mom between middle school and high school. I kind of wanted to aspire to be something else. But luckily for me, I had 3 opportunities. The best thing that happened to me was actually getting arrested at 14 years old. It really was, because it showed me what I didn't want to be. I said, you know what? Like being in this, it was just one night. It was just one night, but that was enough for me. After that, my grandmother in football became my new quote unquote dad, so to speak, or whatever. And I said, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do that street stuff. I'm going to do this. And then she changed to play basketball. I said, that's where I'm going to school. Yeah.
Wow. And I know, I know a lot of us have had a come to Jesus moment. You know what I mean? We had to get to that place, where, God can really get our undivided attention. So we can really focus on what it is that, he has truly called us to do. So, man, because you taught in the Philadelphia School District, right?
Oh, 100%. That's right. shout out, live from the 215, now representing the 302, coming at you, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, definitely born and raised Southwest Philadelphia. John Bartram High School is where I attended. In fact, our DJ, one of the best DJs in the world, Jazzy Jeff, who was a year ahead of me, he used to DJ in the gym, on the top of the locker room at halftime football games and stuff like that. I grew up hip hop, and hip hop during its inception, he was doing this thing. Will Smith, he was younger. He was on the other side of town at that time, before I just straight DJs in the park, and at the games and whatnot. That's the high school I went to, and definitely hip hop and football and all those things are synonymous for me, man. Real hip hop, stuff to listen to today, it's okay. I just say
I asked you that, because you teach in the Delaware School District now, right? In Delaware.
Yeah, so when I left Philadelphia in 20, I said I didn't want to be a principal anymore in the Philadelphia area, and I always wanted to move down south. So down south for me was Delaware. I mean, because I didn't want to go too far. I know, but so where I live is kind of very rural, in Delaware. So it gives me the quiet. The only shots that I hear now is when they shoot ducks, I guess, or whatever around here. So that's the only guns that I hear now. But now, first came, I actually went into a juvenile justice facility and wanted to get back to. I've worked, K-8 schools, middle schools, residential schools, high schools. I always wanted to work in a juvenile justice facility because I knew that one of my passions of getting back to the young men, like I said, I got in trouble. So I wanted to go into the system and try to teach them young folks while they were there. And you will be surprised. There were so many young men there that are amazingly intelligent, but just had some bad experiences. One quick story, this young man told me, he said, Brother Warren, he said, I'm supposed to be here. I said, what do you mean you're supposed to be here, brother? He said, well, I was born in jail. My mom had me when I was in prison, and my father was in prison at the same time. He was intelligent academically, but he was, from the streets in the hood. He might have been from down Dover, as a matter of fact. I didn't know that Dover had hoods. I just thought it was Wilmington. So it was Dover and then also Wilmington. They had hoods and whatnot. Very smart hoods and gangs nonetheless. Ended up graduating this young man, you know, he graduated from there. Actually, he got out, and then when he got out, he committed a crime, and I think now he's now in jail for life. You know, so after doing that, after doing that for a few years, I said, you know what, I had those young men there, and they would engage with me and embrace what I was talking about. But because they had no outlet to go back to, there was Education for Liberation, but it was going back to that same small city, whether it be Denver or Wilmington or wherever else, and they would get back and caught up with something else. So the recidivism rate was extremely high. So I said, you know what, let me go back to touch the babies directly. And that's why I came back and said, I'll go back to the middle school environment and help those young people out, because I can have more of an impact while they're still at that age. That middle school band is extremely critical. Extremely critical. So I love what I do. I love what I do.
And Brother Warren, you know, you touched base off what you said, you know, that particular generation in the adolescents, you know, the teens, what way could you find a solution to move them to the HBCUs? Because a lot of these HBCUs are like a family net, you know, small net community, and it may help them grow. And what ways can we possibly, you know, talking to the young men who are listening, you know, and who want to go to school but don't, you know, have that motivation or a person behind them, what could you say to them? You know.
Sure. Well, one thing, if they're in the Delaware, you know, area specifically, or you can reach out to me via, you know, through social media, is mentoring. So I have a mentoring program that I do within Peace, which stands for Please All Children Equally. It doesn't just provide trainings for teachers, but also opportunities to mentor. And I'm also mentoring right now through the Delaware Ducks and their grant. You know, having guys coming and playing football and having those conversations and exposure. And so tend to want to be what they see. So the more of us that they see, whether it's through my fraternity, Omega Psi Fraternity Incorporated, fraternity, you know, or different things that I do through Peace or through football, just providing mentoring opportunities, you know, we can do. And I'm looking forward to the next school year. I just did a proposal, do some after school stuff with mentoring one of the schools. The one where I met Coach Williams, as a matter of fact. We're doing some big things over there next year. 100 Black men in Philadelphia. I was mentoring chair for them before I left Philadelphia. So I'm partnering with them as well. So a lot of opportunities like that, because they may not get it from the school. Because unfortunately, sometimes in the school, there's not enough. I think we make up like 2% of Black males, making up 2% of the educational force in schools as far as educators go, right? You may see your guards and your maintenance people and your things of that nature. But as far as actually core teachers, you don't see that many core certified teachers. So most Black in inner city schools have to rely on Caucasian folk. And no disrespect to them, because there's some good ones. And then very few Black people or people of color. And let me say that something about this. All skin ain't kin. Just because somebody is your color ain't your kind. You know, so I preach those same things, talking about HBCUs and having that state of mind. So, you know, whether they go HBCU or the other places too, but we talk about HBCUs on here, but it's about exposure. You come into my space, like my office space, all you see is flags of HBCUs on my wall. What is that? Where's that at? And not just Cheney, Jackson State, you know, Delaware State, you know, all the schools up there. I got to get me a Bowie flag. Give me a Bowie flag. Got to get a Bowie flag, put it up there.
Oh, I got a whole bunch right here. I want you, you know, and John, you touched base off it earlier, and actually, Brother Warren, you were saying about Penn State to Cheney. And my situation, my path took the same path as yours. You know, went out to UCLA, and then made it back all the way home, and wound up graduating at Boise State. So you know, and yeah, they definitely didn't love it. And at that time, you told me they were racist, very racist out there. You're talking about the early 90s. So, and I think that and having, you know, that strong base, my uncle who was on me, pushing me the same way your grandma did you, and the same way John, how his folks did him. You know, I'm thankful for that. So that all ties together though. So what you're doing and everything, it's a good thing.
That's my wife. You should retire. I said, no, I don't, you know, I love working with the babies, man. I mean, you know, I can train teachers, coach teachers, and I do some of that on the side occasionally. I provide advice to teachers still now to this day. I mean, I could be a principal somewhere if I chose to, but right now I want to go back to my why, which is working directly with the babies, because as you watch, you see what's going on. I like working with the babies. You know, they don't know. My job to teach them. Adults, they should know better, but that's another conversation for another podcast. So I won't get too much into that.
And then, that middle school age is like that age, man, where, it just, they just hit in so many different directions, and they're trying to figure out themselves, find themselves. There's just so much, influences coming from various directions. And when I looked at, your bio, and you talked about, you create this new merchandise, EQ over IQ makes a better you.
Absolutely.
Speak to that.
I do a workshop on that as well, but it is merchandise. EQ over IQ equals a better you, which means basically your emotional quotient. So emotional intelligence, basically how you, in short, how you yourself act in the world and how you receive other people in the world, right? That kind of quantifies ultimately your emotional quotient, right? In relationships. And, IQ, that's your mathematics and literacy to give you that score, take that test and so on and so forth. You can be extremely intelligent, intellectually speaking, but if you don't have a good handle on your emotions and how to interact with other people, it doesn't really matter. So that's why I say EQ is actually greater in many cases than your IQ, right? Because you want to have great EQs, but might not be as intelligent with their IQ, but you're still able to get over it. There was a president, I won't say his name, one of the presidents of the United States, didn't have a great IQ. Right? And became president. People person and so on and so forth and whatnot. So I definitely preach that. I have a workshop on that entitled "Is What They See Really Me?" Right? And how we be, kind of extended to DMX's rap song and whatnot. So anybody interested in that can definitely hit me up. It's a great workshop. I've done that all over the place, from here to as far as Ohio, and then virtually national. Yeah,
that's good. Because a lot of people think, and I know kids. Let me speak to me. I know I had a greater strength in when I'm looking at this, my EQ than I did my IQ, right? And I had a what I would call my superpower. Like, you always have something that is a go-to for you, and it was my ability to communicate, and in sports and all that kind of stuff was really a great part of that. So I leaned into an area that I felt like that I could really excel in. And so that was really dealing in my communications. And so I went on to do radio and do a few different things, and became a motivational speaker and doing the things even that I'm doing now, with Vince and in the schools and, in the community and other ways. So, so when I look at this really intrigued me, because it really speaks to my story, really speaks to, what I sort of lean into. And so when you talked about even the emotional piece with our young people, particularly our young boys, are just suffering in their emotional states because they don't understand how to really harness that or bring the balance to it. And so they find themselves getting in a whole lot of different trouble, even on the street. When I see guys, the reason why they got shot or something like that, and when you really unpack it and unfold what took place, it may come down to an emotional piece with a female or something like that. They just didn't know how to they just didn't know how to really properly negotiate themselves in that particular area. So when I looked at this, I said, man, this really powerful, because it can speak to so many different things in dealing with people in general, and particularly our young people. They need this stability, this place here. They need that. And so, man, I commend you for the stuff that you have done, and yeah, man, it's good. I like it, man. And then you had this piece. What is it? Talk before I leave. I want to hear about that piece.
I mean, so the workshop of EQ over IQ equals a better you is just one of the workshops that I do under the umbrella of peace. So I started during COVID, and one of the things that I do, so monthly I'm doing podcasts, similar to what your brothers are doing right here, different platforms, talking about various topics. This past, the last series I did was actually focused on, teaching Black history outside of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Delaware for starting House Bill 198, but even still that, with fidelity at every school where it's supposed to be, It's not happening where it needs to be. It's just not. But just even across, the country,
Yeah.
you really can't depend on the school to teach you about being Black. You really can't. If you're going to culture, history, and their culture, it needs to start in the home. If it doesn't start in the home, in the community, so with that particular series, and this on my YouTube page, which also is Please Educate All Children Equally. You can see that there, as well as other content that's there about our history and our culture, as well as other entrepreneurs, other things of that nature. That's just one aspect. The main aspects, though, have been to try to train teachers, which I did for the first couple of years during COVID, doing virtual workshops, doing some live workshops around whether it be restorative practices, whether it be using emotional intelligence circles, whether it be being more culturally responsive in classrooms, things of that nature. So, and all those things can be found on my website for anybody who would like to, book me or engage with me and, those kinds of things. So and also mentoring being the last phase for the babies, for the boys. And I'm doing some of that right now, in partnering with the Delaware Ducks organization. And I do that a couple of days a week. We got a big football camp coming up soon at the end of June at the Claymont Community Center, where I'll be doing some workshops, but also coaching football as well, because I did that, for me as well.
Wow. And Brother Warren, before we, go to, I know you have the Peace Program. Can you give a message to the outgoing students from the HBCUs and the incoming students who are coming into HBCUs, who made it a motivational encouragement for the seniors who graduated this May, actually, and then the freshmen who will be coming in August? Could you give them a word of advice, entering and then leaving?
Okay, so the babies that are coming in first, the young people, the young adults that are coming in first, you are about to have the time of your life. You're 100% at an HBCU. If you embrace the entire culture, you're going to have the time of your life. But let me just tell you, you want to make sure you make it back for your sophomore year. So make sure that your first year, you buckle down, because your classes are the easiest during the freshman year, right? They begin to get harder as you go through your major. Get that GPA as high as you possibly can in your freshman year. Also, engage with other people that are great role models, mentors, influencers on you. I mean, because there's going to be a lot of things coming at you. For the young ladies, for the young men, whatever you identify, whatever it is make sure you focus on those two things and keep that GPA high, and you will be fine, right? And also reach out to those individuals, the advisors, the internships, all those different kinds of things that are available to you on campus, because those things will be the things that will take you to that next level wherever you are. That will be your home. It'll be the best years of your life, but you have to make sure that you focus on the 12 Ps, with 12 Ps being piss poor preparation promotes piss poor performance. Piss poor performance promotes pain. And if you don't perform and if you don't prepare, you're going to suffer some pain when it comes time for that GPA. But if you do what I just said, for those that are exiting, if you're getting that degree, listen, you've gotten that degree, whether you have to go to graduate school or medical school or going into the workforce, just stay focused. There's still a lot of traps out there in the world and whatnot. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at you and say, hey, your degree, because you came from this school or school X isn't the school that I went to as far as the PWI. I can honestly say, in my first career, which was in management, I was in corporate America first for 5 years before I transitioned into education, because I wanted to help people. And out of, say, 50 people that was on in this one particular industry, I was working at the Sands in Atlantic City. There were 4 of us that were of African descent out of 50. But because of what I went through at the HBCU, it prepared us through our internship for the world. Rated the number 2 intern of all 50 of them. So you're prepared. You're ready to go. You're part of, quote unquote, the talented 10th. Make it happen. Represent for yourself, your family, your people, and just make it happen.
Amen. That's awesome, man. Well, man, we want to thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us here at HBCU Original. We're really excited. Me and Vince love doing this and really exposing our community to gentlemen like yourself that are doing just amazing jobs in the community. So thank you so much. And I'm
going to shout both of you out, because ever since we met and I got the notifications and the pop up, and I love what you're doing, highlighting the young people and whatnot. Keep on doing what you're doing, brothers. We need more of this out there. So I appreciate you pushing the culture of HBCUs. HBCU for life. I got it on my shirt. There you go. There we go. HBCU for life.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Sure.
Hey everybody, and for those who are interested in getting in touch with Brother Warren, for like I said, please educate all children equally. Right below we have his number. I believe it's 302. It's about to come up on the our ticker. 302. What was that? 223-9506. And then also please educate all children equally.com. You have a Instagram and Facebook account?
Yeah, at Brother One Piece. You can search me there. You will find either one of those things there at Brother One Piece for Facebook, YouTube, and also IG at Brother One Piece.
And also, people that are watching, if you'd like to donate and help us support, our program and bring more people like Brother Warren, who's going to be on regularly. Correct? Okay.
Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Here we go. Take a look at
Donate
this.
to the HBCU original cause. Help out our broadcast to continue to get out quality info to the viewers.